Well, like she said, my name's Zachary Kasky, and for those of you that know me, what I'm about to tell you doesn't surprise you. I have an unpopular opinion. Yeah, shocker, I know, right? But I was talking to some people, and I asked them, hey, how do you think we are who we are, right? And a common answer I got was, it was God's will, right? That there was this divine whim of what you were going to be from the second you were born. Who you are right now is who you were going to be for all of time. And, as I'm asking them there, I'm sitting there and I'm going to shake their hand goodbye, looking politely in the eye. But in my mind, I'm thinking, you guys couldn't be more wrong. But, of course, I don't have the guts to tell them that. See, I don't believe that. What I think is our personalities are all determined by outside forces, right? We are who we are because of our environment. That makes sense, right? Little influences here and there that determine who we are. Here's an example of what I mean, something we can all relate to. Learning to walk and talk, for example. Nobody handed you a book for it to read and said, hey, this is how you walk. Nobody taught you how to do it in a way that you could understand. You saw other people doing it, and you thought, hey, I could do that, so I'm going to give it a shot. And you failed miserably, multiple times, but eventually you got it. I can speak from personal experience. My brother learned to walk, relatively speaking, a year before I did, simply because he wanted to be like me. And that kind of developed who he is. Not learning to walk, but you know what I mean. So I'm over here saying what influences our personality, right? But I thought the theme was connections, right? That's what we've been preaching up here the whole time. So what's the connection? What's the middle ground? I say it's books. Oh no, I'm in here in school and I'm talking about books. Yeah, sorry, it is. I believe that books influence our personality and help us bridge connections. There we go. Technology is great when it works. These 4 characters are all from fictional works. I have Percy Jackson from Rick Riordan's The Lightning Thief. I have Mark Watney from Andy Weir's The Martian. Ian Malcolm from Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. And 4 from Veronica Roth's Divergent. Now, most of you should know at least one of these characters to some extent. I'm pretty sure most of us in middle school read Percy Jackson, right? But what do these all have in common? Well, if you know 2 of these characters, you'll know that they're not the same. They may share similar attributes, but they're not the same. But they do all have something in common. I'll give you a second. Can't figure it out? These 4 characters are all people that have influenced who I am as a person, right? They have contributed to my psyche. They have made me Zachary Kasky. They have made me who I am. Now, am I a direct clone of them? No. I'm not as good looking as half these people. But they have influenced who I am. I know I'm up here talking about books, and I know we did this to get out of class, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to bring up some math. Say your personality is divided into 10 slots, right? 10% each. And one slot can be filled with an attribute from a character. Well, I'd say I give 4 to Percy, 3 to Mark, 2 to Ian, and 1 to 4. Just hypothetically speaking. And this blending, this merging of attributes from these different characters has made me who I am. Think about it like Play-Doh, right? Say Percy's red, but Ian Malcolm is blue. All right, so I've got 4 things red and 2 of blue, and I mix them together and just start twisting it. I will get a specific pattern. But you can see very clearly that there's more red than blue. And that's how we are as people, right? We can see different influences and similarities between people, but the patterns are all unique individually to who you are. And that's really important. Now, why does this matter, right? Well, what is a connection? I guess, right? A connection is a bridge between one thing and another. You need 2 things to make it work. Well, have we made a connection here? Technically, yes. I've established a connection between man and book. But who wants to be known because their best friend's a pile of paper? No fun in that, right? This is a personal-driven world. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So I made this handy little chart in about 2 minutes. And I had a realization. So say you're right here. And a character you connected to is here. That bridge has been made, right? It's a 2-way street. You've connected. Well, there's 7 billion people in the world. You're not going to be the only one that likes that person, unless, you created it solely to like it. So odds are that there's someone else, we'll call him random person A, who also likes book character X. So now you've got a connection here, and they've got a connection with the same character. Maybe not for the same reasons, but that's not important. What's important is that it's the same character. So theoretically, couldn't you just bridge that gap? Right? Cut out the middleman, cut out book character X. You've already got common ground. Couldn't you just get rid of that and start a connection with random person A? Or I'll expand on it a bit further. Say you don't share the same book character connection. Say that you connect to book character X, but random person A connects to book character Y. But book characters X and Y are in the same story, and they have a relationship. Couldn't you mimic that? For example, Rick Riordan, I brought it up earlier. Oh, not him. That's later. For example, Rick Riordan wrote the Heroes of Olympus series, and two of his main characters were Jason and Leo. Jason was the main character, a lot like Percy, and Leo was his best friend. You know, Tinkerer always had to build things. I like to relate to Jason just like I relate to Percy, and my best friend, I like to think, Mason, relates to Leo, the Tinkerer, and we connect in much the same way that Jason and Leo connect. See, what I'm trying to say here is it's a substitution, people. You don't necessarily need to like them for who they are or like the characters for the same reason, but there's already a relationship there you can bridge. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. I don't like to read. You know, I'd spark notes everything I can, and you're up here telling me I need to go read books? What is this, the 18th century? Sorry. Why can't I just, do that with a movie character or just go see someone on the street? Now I can bring up crazy over here. If you don't know who this is Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. And if you know anything about this character or you've seen the movie, you likely know the story of how he got his classic scars, right? His calico smile. And how he got these scars is his first story he gives is from an abusive alcoholic father who cut him after murdering his wife. And it would make sense, right? That would damage a kid psychologically. And that would turn him into something like this. But later on in the movie, he gives a different story. He says his wife was a gambler who lost bad, and the people she owed money to cut her, so she would always remember how much she owed. And so he cut himself so that she would know that he always loved her, no matter the scars. The story changed. He's an unreliable narrator, and that's many of us today. See, I brought these up here for an important reason. People today, we all have a mask, right? We all have personas we hide behind. Because we're not the same person everywhere, right? We're not the same person at school versus in front of our parents versus in front of our teachers versus around our friends, right? Say this is how I am talking to you, my peers, my friends. This is how I am talking to my parents. Or this is how I am when I'm out in public with random strangers I've never met. It's not the same, right? Because if you tried to copy me while I'm wearing the mask, you're not copying me. You're copying the mask. And that's the key point here. I could change them at will. And anybody can. We're all human. We want to be liked. So we like to change who we are just a little bit. But if you copy the mask and not the person, you can end up in a bad crowd. You can end up with a group of people you don't necessarily want to be around. You can be in a situation you don't want to be in. Sorry, that's not me. I didn't want to do this. Too late. You're already roped in. There's nothing you can do. And let's face it, that's not fun. This tangle of wires and motherboards was one of the first computers decades ago, right? And computers back then took up an entire room and could only perform basic calculations. Nowadays, pretty sure all of you can reach in your pocket. You've got a supercomputer sitting there with the history of mankind at your fingertips. I feel like you might think I'm jumping around, right? Going from books to computers. But what I use the computers for is to show an exponential growth model. If y'all don't know what that is, it's a math term, sorry, and it looks like this. Okay? And the reason I show you that is because that can relate to us, right? Our generation, by no fault of its own, has a lot to deal with. We've got a lot of stress to meet. We've got a high achievement level we need to get to, and it's by no fault of our own. Because let's say you got a generation, and then their children have to not only meet that, but they have to expand on it. Because that's how it works, right? You want to get your name in the history books. You want to be known. You want to get your name out there. That's how you get those big paychecks. You don't do it by just being average, right? That's not what they tell you. You've got to exceed. You've got to excel. You've got to be the next big thing. So you expand. And then their children meet and expand. And just continues. It's this vicious cycle, and it grows exponentially. Suddenly we get to our generation, right? And where we stand now, there's a lot to meet. There's high expectations. You've got to have a high academic record if you want to get into college, or at least a good college where you can get well paid. What if you're an athlete? What if you do some kind of outside event? Now you've got to juggle that and the extra event. What if you're in a merit-based club like 4-H, Alpha Gamma, Beta, NHS? Now you've got to juggle that, and it's too much to mess with. You're going to drop a ball somewhere, a grade's going to slip, or suddenly you get put on probation for something. Oh, by the way, I thought you wanted to have a social life. It's all adding things, right? And we can't really deal with all that. Children in the 1950s, according to the American Psychological Association, had the same anxiety and stress levels of students, high school students, in December of 2000. 2 decades ago, high school students were considered literal psychos. Think about that for a second. Literal psychos. Medically psychotic. Same as high schoolers. Mr. LaRota came up over here earlier, and he showed us the numbers, right, for depression and suicide rates in the United States. And it's a real problem. But how can we fix it, right? Because we always have all these things that we've got to be thrown with, and we need an answer. I gave you the answer earlier. Connect with people through a book. Think about it. Join a book club. You're sitting there, and you already all like books. Suddenly, you find that someone else likes the same book as you. Okay, it's a start. Suddenly they like the same character as you. Ooh, even better. Now you can start talking to them on a personal level. You can have a friend. It's not as awkward as walking down the street and just seeing some random dude like, he looks cool. Hey, buddy, how you doing? The heck do you want? Sorry. My bad. It's not that hard anymore. Now you've already got a common ground. You can build a friend right there. Make your life a lot easier. And now suddenly you've got someone to talk to, so now all this stress you're juggling, all this anxiety, all this pressure, you can give a little bit to them. You can talk to them about your day. Say, hey man, this was really stressing me out. You mind if I just talk to you for a second? Now he might sit there just on his phone like, yeah, oh, that sucks, dude. But at least you're talking about it. You're getting it off your chest. And what if you keep doing that? Right? What if you make more connections with more people? Suddenly you can give a little bit of stress here, and a little bit here, and a little bit here. Now, suddenly, your life doesn't seem as busy, right? Your anxiety just plummets. You can get rid of the anxiety and the stress. And I think what you'll see is as that happens, your life will be a lot happier. You will just feel better. Right? So, if I were to wrap this up in a neat little bow, right? Because I've been told I've got to do that or they'll kick me off. I challenge y'all to go read your favorite book. Go read a book. Go read a chapter even for some of you. And just see if you can connect to a character. If it's a character you already like, find out why you connect with them. Really analyze it. And then go see if you can find someone that likes that same book. Sit in the library for a second. See what people are picking up. Oh, hey, I read that book a couple years ago. I like that. Hey, maybe I'll go talk to them. Just see where it gets you. It doesn't necessarily have to be super random or awkward. Just try it. Right? Try to build a friend right there. And suddenly, I think you'll see there are a lot more people out there just waiting for the spark to connect, regardless of what you do or who you are, your background, your ethnicity, whatever. Again, you can connect with all these people and you can alleviate that stress and make your life a lot easier. Thank you.